Hi, everybody. Welcome to a very, very special episode of Games My Mom Found. I am Mike Albertin, and we got a very special guest with us tonight. We got a guy who just from Fyre Studios, who's joining us today, the developer of a new game that when you're hearing this, it just came out. Most likely the day you're hearing this, if you listen to this right when we drop this. A very new title called Summerland.
Hi.
Oh, you're good. I kind of was like, wait a second. I usually have a different way to introduce everybody, but
so no, it's all right. It's all right.
And what is your name?
Connor Rush.
And welcome aboard.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, hey, thank you for reaching out to me. So you are the, I guess, kind of like president of the studio, let's say, since it's just you, I think, mostly?
I mean, if you want to call me the president, I don't think I think legally I'm the CEO. I think that's what, like, my documentation says.
I mean, I have a little plaque that says president of Games My Mom Found, so that's what I told you.
No, but Fyre Games is pretty much just me and whoever else I feel I could bring on board for a given project. So a lot of non-permanent members, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, so you had actually I think I followed you or somehow we had ended up finding each other on Twitter, and you had ended up approaching me about talking about your game Summerland that's coming out at December 2nd, 2020. So at the time you're hearing this should be that day. Mm-hmm. But, you got my attention. I was like, okay, what's this? And I got to say, I was definitely a little surprised. And for those that don't know, you want to give a quick little rundown of what Summerland is?
Sure. Yeah. So Summerland is for lack of a better term, a walking simulator, which is pretty much code for a first-person narrative game. It's very point-and-click like first person. The story revolves around a detective named Matthew as you explore the afterlife and themes of ethical philosophy and morality. It's fairly short, an hour and a half, 2 hours, and it is out now, completely free to play.
Which was pretty damn awesome, by the way, too, that you're doing that for people.
But the free to play part?
Well, free to play is awesome, too, but just the fact that, walking sims I like them personally, and this one was definitely very enjoyable.
They're one of my favorite genres, honestly. And I do think they're very underrated.
They are, because we think you have to be shooting things and doing other stuff. As long as the story can grab you and the game can make you feel something, it did what it needed to. We're past the days where a game had to be all about shooting robots and, just arcade gameplay.
Nothing against shooting robots, though. I mean, Binary Domain, heck yeah.
That was a good game. I was thinking more of Mega Man when I was talking, but that Binary Domain is super damn good. So this is the third game that you put out with your studio.
Yeah.
I definitely have to take a look at your other two games.
They're not as good.
That's fine.
I made my first one when I was, I think, 13 or 14. And the second one, I think I was 16. And the second one, Welcome to the Dreamscape, it's fine. You're not going to be importantly offended if you play it. Into the Unknown's kind of bad.
Hey, I mean, you still made a game. That's still impressive.
I made a game. That's true. I'm at a point right now where my development skills have gotten to the point where I can now insult my past work as being objectively not good.
Hey, that's normal. I'm a much different level, but I've insulted many of my early podcast episodes, but that's a whole different, a lot less work involved.
Me, as a 13-year-old making a game, also thought it'd be a good idea if I were to voice act in said game, again, as a 13-year-old, and it didn't pan out as well as you'd think.
You have my attention now. I'm going to have to try this.
I'm digging myself into a hole with that.
Oh, fine. Don't be. Hey, it's still impressive. So we're talking about Summerland is what we brought you on here today for. And I do have a few questions for you. So one, this felt like a very heartfelt story. That's the word I want to say. Mm-hmm. And so I want to know how much of this was inspired by real life events.
So the story itself, what's actually going on beat by beat, isn't really inspired by anything in real life.
Okay.
Like the story with Matthew and Charlie and Evelyn, which will make sense if you play the game. That was inspired by almost nothing. What was from my own personal experience were the themes of the game when it comes to the afterlife and morality. I came up with the idea that I wanted to make something that involved this ethical dilemma afterlife, just based on a bunch of anxiety I have about death in the afterlife. And it pushed me forward to make it into art. I wasn't sure if I want to make it a game or whatever I wanted to do, but I just kept having this super intense fear of not knowing what happens when we die and like the unknowables and inevitability of it. So I was like, okay, let's write this down into some fictional compartmentalized idea that's easily digestible and that I can understand. And through making that, it kind of helped me feel more comfortable with those ideas, even though like playing Summerland, that's not what I think the afterlife is. It's totally fictionalized. I wrote it to be entertaining, but just being able to have that digestible thought of it was helpful.
Okay. No, it entertained me the whole way through. And I was curious to see where it was going to go and what's happening, which I give you props to that. I mean, I love story games.
That's like a main thing you need with a walking simulator, right? Is an interesting story. If you don't have that, it's going to kind of flop.
It's going to get turned off real quick.
Yeah.
And it definitely has an interesting story. It had me. I didn't really know what was going on. I didn't put things together, even though like in your explanation you say it's the afterlife. That didn't click for me until maybe about the third chapter, and I'm like, oh, okay, now I understand where we're going.
Yeah, that was kind of the idea I wanted to push forward when you start the game, because again, one of these main fears I had was the unknowables, and I kind of wanted to put the player in a position where they also didn't really know what was going on. And they can kind of gather through context. And a lot of the story is still, at the end, kept very vague. I want the players to kind of walk away with a few questions and their own theories about what happened throughout the game.
It does make you think, and I was definitely impressed by that, and I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that you had things that kept me interested in see where is this going, what's going to happen, and I kept wanting to play, even when I got lost for 20 minutes on a very easy puzzle. That's more just me in gameplay.
Talking about the bill.
Yeah, it was really simple, but I was going all around the house, like, okay, there's a mailbox somewhere. Where could this be? Okay, I go back to computer. All right, do I touch computer? Okay, should there be a button I can hit? Even though it's not giving me any prompts, is there a button I can hit? So, but that wasn't your game. That wasn't you. That was all me. Just not playing, right?
That is funny, though.
For anyone who
like
listens to the
hearing
show,
people's stories about playing the game. I just think some of this stuff is really funny.
Oh no, it's just how I play games. Like if anyone listens to the show will know I don't read stuff. I usually just go through things very quickly, partly because of this show. I play so many games. So
that's fine.
I paid a pretty good amount of attention. My wife, who also played this after she paid more attention, caught a few things that I didn't catch. I'll be asking you some questions a little bit later in this. Okay. But the next thing I did want to ask you is how long did it take for you to make this game?
This is probably... Well, I was going to say it's probably one of my fastest, but that's not true. Into the Unknown took me like 5 months. Okay. This one was about 1.5 years in development, which is, again, fairly quick for the game that it is.
Still, it's only you.
And mainly. Even compared to Welcome to the Dreamscape, that took me about 3 years to make. It was very ambitious, overly ambitious for where I was at the time. But yeah, this one was 1.5 years. Very quick for a game like this. I think it was just because it was so focused. I kind of knew what I wanted to do with everything, and there wasn't a lot of figuring out.
Yeah, trial and error works great. But no, I mean,
there was this cohesive idea with it, though. I kind of just understood where everything was going when I went in, so the development cycle was incredibly brief.
Yeah, because a year and a half is not bad.
No, not
especially
at all.
Not for mainly one developer. So I give you props again.
Thank you. It's hard with college too. I just started college.
Yeah, no, that from what I didn't go to college, but from what I see with people, I don't blame you. It's not something that lets you have your own time as much. So
yeah, I started this thing my senior year of high school, and I'm just wrapping it up now.
But hey, you did it.
And I'm updating it every day. Like I put an update out today.
I mean, hey, just the fact that you made it is still very impressive, and it doesn't feel like something that it feels like you have done this before, or it was more people involved. Is how it felt.
Thank you. That means a lot.
So I do have another question. I'm assuming it was partly a technical thing where I personally liked it, where the characters that you see in this game, they're just like a blue blur. Was there a reasoning behind that?
Yeah. A bit. One, like you said, one main reason was the technical aspect, right?
Yeah, because I know
if I were, for one, my 3D modeling skills are not all there, and neither are my animation skills. That's why the first person narrative walking simulator genre works really well for me, because a lot of those resources don't need to be there, while I can really focus on my strengths, which is storytelling, environment design, etc. But these characters, I figured if I were to attempt to model them, I don't think they look good enough to where the voice acting performances could be taken seriously, which is a really important thing with this game. And I'm extremely happy with the way the voice actors portrayed all of these characters. I think they did a phenomenal job. but also I think it gives the game a distinct look, heavily inspired, if you've ever played it, by Everybody's Gone to the Rapture.
I have not, unfortunately.
Yeah,
I need to.
It's not a game that everyone's a fan of. It's one of those walking simulators that got pretty mixed reception. I personally enjoyed it, but again, that's a genre I'm really fond of. The way I portray characters is very heavily inspired by that. I think it gives the game its own distinct look. It's very original looking, I think. It doesn't... I just think it looks cool. You know, to put it simply, it looks cool.
I've heard a lot of good things about the Rapture game, but I have just never gotten around to it yet because it hasn't been on sale. So
I really liked it. I thought the story was really interesting. A lot of people have some very valid criticisms about it, and I totally understand why someone would not like Everybody's Gone to the Rapture.
I really wish I would have played it by now. But
the walking speed is a big one. You walk extremely slow in that game.
Okay, I was happy you had a run button and my guy didn't get tired. I was happy about that.
No, it's important to not force players into an insanely slow game. I think, personally, at least.
No, you're not wrong. And nothing felt clunky in this game. Either the controls felt fine, and right when I plugged it in, it worked. The game recognized my controller, and I was very happy about that because I'm playing a different game.
Yeah.
That came out in 2013 that did not recognize my controller right away, and I had to go in and mess with the settings. So I appreciate that your game did. And it was not an easy game.
I put a lot of work into making sure the game was 100% controller compatible, even with the UI. I programmed it so it knows what you're playing with. If you press any button on your gamepad, it automatically switches all of the UI. And same with the keyboard. If you press anything on the keyboard or move your mouse, it's automatically going to switch all the UI.
Which I did both actually and tested that. It was nice. It was very cool that you had that in there. I thought that was a very nice touch to add.
I think it's a quality of life thing.
Yeah, and it was good. I mean, because for some people, they can't play with mouse and keyboard. I can, but I suck at it, so I was very thankful that controller worked. And I did appreciate that you had hints in this game, too. That was really nice.
That was actually something I added, I think, less than a week ago.
I'm glad you did it. I think it helped.
As of recording this, because I got a lot of criticism about all of your objectives being dialogue based, and if you miss dialogue, you're kind of screwed.
Yeah, I could see that.
But yeah, that was a criticism I got. So I contacted the voice actor for Matthew, who's the player character, and I was like, "Hey, I got all these extra lines for all these additional things." And he's like, "All right, awesome, cool, send it over." Awesome guy, by the way, Reese David.
He did a good job. Everything
I think all the voice actors did an awesome job.
Very quality, and it sounded a lot better than "You Were Almost a Jill Sandwich." I know that's years before, but still. It sounded a lot better than that.
I'm still adamant that the Resident Evil remake should have come with an original voice acting option.
That would have been cool. I wouldn't have put it on, but it would have been cool.
I definitely would have played with that on the entire time.
I don't know. Just whatever I think of when I think of bad voice acting. I know a part of it's the time, and part of it was just what that game was. But that's always what I think of. And all the voice acting, I thought was well done. I enjoyed it.
Thank you.
And then some of the other questions I had is one. This is one question that my wife kept asking, which I thought was funny. So because I don't want to go too far in this game other than the first couple chapters, but in the second chapter, when you first go to the house. And he just comes home. My wife's like, "Who's watching the baby?" Because she was expecting somebody to pop out, like a nanny or someone being there. And she's like, "Wait a second, the baby's home alone." I'm like, "Well."
Yeah, the idea is that when you go through that door, it's not actually you stepping into the house. If that makes sense, it's you go in, and then once you're in, it's this memory starts. So it's like. In the real world, I guess you could say, before, spoiler alert, Matthew's dead, he was already in the house. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. Again, okay. I didn't know he was. I mean, yes, it does say in your description. That's why I'm, that what it's about. But I did not realize any of that until a little bit later.
That's cool. It's cool.
It doesn't. It's there. It's just I guess I wasn't paying enough attention, to put the clues together. But I liked it. I liked it that you are a detective and that you get to search around. I thought that was a very interesting thing that you took there because normally I'm not into that type of game.
Yeah, because I think that adding in that it's not much, but given that it's a walking simulator, these typically don't have a ton of gameplay, and I wanted to add a little bit of something to keep the player entertained throughout. The little puzzle segments, small bits where you're searching for objects. I think it helps break up the monotony of just kind of walking through the story.
Oh, it definitely does. It also gives you like a purpose of what you're doing, which I thought was nice. Like there were a couple of times that took me way too long to find a simple item, even though I felt that you did a good job as a developer. Everything kind of like, we'll tee off each other. You'll be in this area, then something will happen that would affect what you should be doing. Unlike me, where I'm like, oh, I better go run around the entire house now looking for an item that was right next to me. That wasn't the game's fault. That was
I am really happy that you liked the game, and I'm really happy that pretty much everyone that's played so far has really liked it. It feels very validating as a developer, honestly.
Oh, I completely understand, but no, it's honestly, yeah. I'm glad that you approached me. I'm very happy about that.
I'm really glad that you said yes. Press is not my strong suit. I'm doing my best here, and just the fact that people are willing to talk to me and happy to talk to me like means the world to me.
Hey, and I also want to say that like the graphics I felt were also very well done. They're very pretty.
Oh, that's because I learned that post-processing exists.
I don't know what that is.
It's basically just like After Effects you add to the camera. So like color correction, film grain, ambient occlusion, just little things that every AAA game has that they're not just going to like push forward to like tell you they have. It gives the game like a professional quality look, and it's really easy to implement for any developers out there. Post-processing is like godsend.
Okay. Because everything looked very nice. There were no issues or anything. It didn't look like much. It didn't really like if you didn't know better, you wouldn't know this is an indie game. In my opinion, it could look like something that just would have been, out there, like Xbox Live Arcade or something.
Oh no way! Thank you.
Which I know are some indie games too, but still, it didn't. Like I played some indie games that you can tell it looks like it was something that was developed by a very one guy. So that's all. I don't want to sound insulting to anybody because it's not meant for me. It's not meant as an insult to anyone. I just thought the quality looked very nice.
The visuals in a walking simulator, I think, are really important. People get a misconception that making a walking simulator is really easy, which I mean, from a technical aspect, it is pretty easy. I'll say it like this. It's easy to make a walking simulator. It's extremely difficult to make a good walking simulator.
Yeah, there's some I know people complain about that I was talking about on this podcast at some point. I think I can't remember the name of it. Esther or something?
Dear Esther.
Yes, I think I've never played it, so I don't know anything about it. I just know that my friend was not happy with it.
Yeah, I don't like it personally.
Okay.
It's very much just walking and listening to these old English sounding letters that are hard to keep coherence with.
Okay.
But making a good walking simulator is difficult because where you're taking away these like gameplay elements and you're stripping away like a lot of things that you have to put into a normal game, you also have to like amplify all of these other aspects to keep it intriguing. The visuals have to be on point. The story has to be on point. You need to make sure you're pacing everything properly. Like all these things are incredibly important, and they become even more so when you're making a game like this.
Okay, I can see that. Because I mean, you don't have the gameplay as much like in a shooter or something to add more to it, where you're just enjoying the world that you're into.
Yeah, so visuals are really important in a walking simulator, I think at least, because it really captures your interest in a way that the gameplay in another game normally would.
Okay, and one of the other questions that I did want to bring up to you is what kind of games are you into besides walking simulators? Like, what are some of your favorite franchises?
Franchises. I absolutely love The Last of Us.
Okay, that is an amazing game.
The first Last of Us is my favorite game of all time, like 100%. I really, really liked The Last of Us Part 2, even though I know that game got a ton of hate and like so much controversy around it. I thought it was like a solid 8 out of 10.
That's just people
not as good as the first one. I do love The Last of Us though. Kingdom Hearts is a favorite series of mine. I understand that like the gameplay is pretty simplistic, just mashing X, but I mean it looks beautiful, and I have just some awesome memories of playing that thing when I was a little kid.
Hey, they're good games. I got Kingdom Hearts when it came out, and I unfortunately have not kept up with the series, but I don't blame you.
Oh, I have no idea what's going on in the story of those games.
Nobody does, including the developers.
I think if anyone says they do, they're lying.
I mean, that series jumps around so much.
And did you see they're making the new one? The what is it? Magic of Melody or something like that?
Oh, the rhythm game?
Yeah.
I saw it happen, I read it, and then I completely forgot about it until just now when you mentioned it.
I've heard nothing, but I'm going to bet my life that it's like a canonical game.
Oh, it probably is for sure.
Because every single Kingdom Hearts game for some reason has to be like story integral.
Yep, it also is the 14th installment. It retells the events of the series while also being set after the DLC of number 3.
Oh my goodness. If you have played all the Kingdom Hearts games, I respect the amount of money you have to own all of these devices.
I wish I have, but I have not.
But we were talking before the interview started, horror games as well. I absolutely love horror games. And that may also link back to walking simulators because they have a lot in common. But no, horror games are amazing and just kind of hold a special place in my heart.
It did have some horror. I felt like this game had a few horror elements to it at times.
Oh, yeah?
It did to me. I also don't like horror games. I played way more than I should have. Anyone listening to the show knows. But it did have that feeling. I was expecting certain things were going to happen, even though they didn't, because not what the game was going for. But that was just what it had me on edge a few times. So,
I mean, if you don't mind me asking, what parts of the game did you feel that way? Because I mean, it was never an intent to have these horror elements. It was in the early stages there were going to be some horror, but like that kind of got scrapped. What parts of the game did you feel that way?
Without going too spoiler, I won't. Near the end, when you're in somebody's house.
Trial 8?
Yeah. Trial 7, I think.
I can see that.
It's just what's happening in the game and where the story is going. I was like, oh, this is not what I expected. That came out.
I was very happy with the music I had recorded for that as well. I think it really fits the scene.
Oh, did you write the music then, or did you have someone else that did?
Oh no, I wrote the music.
Okay. I can't speak on music if I'm not a big music person. As anyone listens to the show knows.
That's okay. No, I'm a big music guy. I mean, aside from this soundtrack, I've recorded my own music as well. This is kind of like a fun side project. Most of it was improv, to be honest.
Hey, improv can work.
Actually, not for those listening. Like time of recording this, one of the singles from the game is releasing tonight, this Friday night. It's hard to talk time when this is coming out later.
It's November 26, 2020. We'll just put that out
there. Yeah,
there's
one of the singles is coming out tonight. For you listening to this right now, the soundtrack is out to stream on platforms if you liked the music of the game.
I turned off the radio in the bar because it was. I don't like music in games, so I turned off the radio when I could.
That's not on the soundtrack. The radio song is actually a independent project, like my own personal music I'm working on. An unfinished version, granted, but it's,
I turn off music in games when I can, or I play stuff with podcasts on because I just don't listen to music in games.
No, I understand.
It's a personal thing. I don't know why. It's a weird thing with me, but it
can be a distraction.
But I like listening. Like I actually played the entire game with headphones on, and anyone who knows me, that's saying something. Like I was very in tune with what was happening. And I probably should have said at the top of the show, but I do want to say that you did give me a code to this game, even though it's releasing free here soon. But I probably I need to state that. So
yeah, well, it's early access.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, I was a beta tester, kind of.
Yeah.
So I a
beta tester for a fairly finished copy.
Yeah. Pretty much. I mean, it wasn't much for me beta testing, but that's what Steam told me when I typed in the code. You're a beta tester. I'm like, okay, sure, we'll go with that.
I think I picked promo. I may have just messed up what the keys said.
Oh, you're all good.
I thought I'd selected pro. It does the same thing.
We'll just blame Steam. That's all.
Yeah. Dang it, Valve.
And the last question I want to wrap up this interview on is, what are your next plans after this game releasing?
I hate people asking me this because I have no idea. I wish I had a more interesting answer.
Hey, I mean, you made a game. That's props to you. You made a game that's interesting and better than some games I paid $60 for. So, hey.
Thank you. I mean, I have a few small demos I've made and never released, and I might revisit one of those at some point. After this game comes out, I'm planning on getting a bit more into music. Hopefully, maybe record a second album. Aside from Summerland, I actually have an album just of my own, but I think I'm going to get more into music, and then after I'm done with that, maybe return to games a bit.
Okay. Well, I definitely do look forward to see what you come out with in the future after playing this.
No, thank you. I really appreciate it.
And that about wraps up this first section of the show. Definitely stay tuned, and we will be doing where I will be reviewing the game like I do every episode of the show. So definitely stay tuned to that. I want to thank Connor for taking time out and joining me on for this episode.
No, thank you a ton for having me on. It's been awesome talking to you.
It's been fun. So definitely check out Summerland. And actually, what I'm going to say, play Summerland, then come back to this episode and listen to the second half, because, again, it's me. I'm going to spoil a story. I'm going to go into details because that's what I do on the show for the last 100-some episodes that we've released. So I'm just going to say it right now, even though it's a new game. So definitely go, pause this podcast, go download the game. It's on Steam. And when you're hearing this, it's already released and it's free. So, and if you enjoy it, donate to Connor, which you'll see at the end of the game. But you don't have to. That's the great part. But you can. If you enjoy it, you should. I should too.
And I would very much appreciate if you did.
I thought about it. And me thinking about it, that's props, because I don't ever donate anything. I'm just a cheapskate. But I thought about it.
Oh, I mean, I wasn't talking directly to you. I just meant whoever's listening.
I'm just saying in general. I enjoyed it. I'm just a cheap bastard. But that about wraps up this part. So definitely stay tuned, and we will see you shortly. And we're back now. Welcome to the second part of our episode. You just got done hearing the awesome interview with Connor Rush. And now, who's with me now?
Your lovely wife, Tiffany Albertin.
Yes, it's just us right now. Mike was going to join us, but due to technical limitations of his computer not cooperating, he could not get Summerland. He could not play Summerland, so he's unfortunately not here with us. But we still wanted to bring you a little bit of what we do in the show, a little bit of review for Summerland. Again, we did touch on slight spoilers earlier in the interview, but there will be spoilers. I'm going to try to wait a little bit before I get into them, but you've been warned. And if you haven't played this game yet, you should go play it. It's on Steam. It's free. It's awesome. Go play it. Come back, listen to us talk about it, and discuss it. So, all right, you have been warned, and we'll get into it. So we had kind of touched base during the interview. We had said how Summerland is a detective. You play as a detective, and you are dead. So you already have that out of the way. But as I've said before, I really do like walking sims. Walking sim. Yeah, walking sim. That's what these games are called. Tiff, I know you only played a few before, or one.
Yeah.
What remains of Edith Finch?
One, but
yeah,
it's a really good one. But I do enjoy them.
So, what did you think of this game right off the bat?
I really liked it. I really did. The story's good, and I don't know. I just liked it.
I mean, this game kind of opens up interestingly. I was very confused. Where it starts off in a room, a narrator's talking to you, and you just see in big words, "Remain calm." And I'm like, what the hell is happening here? I mean, that's what first went through my head as you're just sitting here, and then the narrator goes, and then you're going to start these trials. I was thinking, okay, there's some kind of like puzzle element of the game, and instead it's just you going into a room, and it's like a memory. It's essentially, we said in the interview, it's a memory, but not a complete memory.
Not a complete memory? It's
not how it would have just happened. It's how it's being seen to him, but it's not like in the second chapter where you are, when you come home to the kid and you ask, and I even asked him this, you're like, who's watching the kid? Because he just comes home and the kid's just
watching the baby.
Oh yeah, it's like what? I gotta be like 6 months old or something at this point. It feels like
something like that. It's a baby all by himself. I didn't like it.
Well, the first chapter is you're investigating a cabin murder scene. And I even had said this to the guy, and I'll say this on here. Is like I felt that it did a very good video gamey thing where it kind of helped you, like where the things you needed were kind of along where you should have been looking, and it felt like the game was helping you in the right direction without being too, except for I got lost twice, but still, it wasn't too bad, I thought.
You didn't follow the blood?
I did, but I'm not, anyone who listens to the show knows I'm not somebody, I don't listen to everything that's happening, I don't explore everything, I go quickly.
You actually listen, though.
I did in this one.
Volume.
Yeah, it's a first. I mean, that's how you know I enjoyed the game. I actually had headphones in, I didn't play a podcast, I actually listened to everything that was happening.
You kind of have to, though.
Yeah, because it's all narration. Like he had mentioned in the interview, is that he had missed, where people had given feedback where if they missed like a dialogue, you wouldn't know what to do, and that's why the hints were added later.
I like that you could press the button and he would repeat or like tell you what you should be doing.
Yeah, I mean, some people might even hit it 30 times because they're like, what the fuck am I doing? So
that's me.
That was me too, especially in the second level. The first level, I mean, there's not a whole lot to say other than it's a cabin murder, and like it kind of helps you get used to controls, and I really liked it. Like it even grabbed me right away. Like it didn't take long. I was really into this game.
Yeah, I liked it.
I mean, even though couldn't find the gun either for a while.
That was my hardest part.
It had the clues. We ended up getting confused by the red grass. The red grass wasn't blood.
What was it?
Just red grass, I guess.
What
I know. The blood was on the trail. What? Yeah, that's what confused you. You weren't following the blood trail. You were in the other area, the other side of the cabin.
It's just, I've never seen red grass. Where is red grass?
I didn't ask Connor that, so I can't tell you.
What?
He's gone now.
You need to see. I need to come with you on interviews. You don't ask the right questions. What's wrong with you?
But I really like that. And I also, as I mentioned during the interview, I liked how the fact that the people are just blue orbs. That there is no, detail. One, he said is a limitation of what he could do. And two, I just felt I feel like it fit the story better. Because they weren't important.
I got it, and I didn't get it. I kind of liked it after a while. But I
also I just liked it. Like, I liked how you have the rookie cop that's with you, Evelyn, in the beginning, that kind of that's with you throughout this game and a couple different missions off and on.
Yeah, I like that too. And then it turns south later. We'll get to that.
Yeah, even in the second mission... Like, that's where you start seeing, he comes home from work, and he's like, I should check my email, and I should find the bills. I spent a good 30 minutes wandering around looking for the bills. I'm like, okay, where's the mailbox? Where's the mail? Okay, no mailbox. All right.
30 minutes?
Yes.
Not even a two seconds, 30 seconds for me. What's wrong?
I went in the kitchen. I looked at the sink. I looked on the table. I looked in the counter. I was like, all right. I looked in the bedroom. I went up the computer, checked the email. I kept trying to click buttons. Like, it's got to be something. Maybe I got it because I'm thinking, okay, if I got bills, they're on my computer. They're in my email. They're not. Nope. It's sitting on the kitchen table on the corner.
That's because when I'm in games like that, I look at everything. Everything.
I did not.
I know, that's not how you play. That's how I play, though. I
did keep checking the same door 10 times, saying, oh, maybe he'll open it now. Maybe he'll open it now. Spoiler alert, it didn't open. It took a while, but I like that. You get the email where you find out that he's, going to be they're going to be cutting the hours and people are getting laid off. And he's like, I can't lose this job. And you see the bill where he's short on his $1,800 mortgage and he has medical bills. And I think it's in this chapter where they first mentioned about the medication, where he needs his medication and he's running out of money for it.
Oh, yeah. At the crime scene, it does a little heart thumping thing and you figure out he has a heart condition. Because he's like, oh, I need my pills. And it says, press Y or something.
E if you're playing on keyboard. But yes.
Oh, well, I wasn't playing on the keyboard.
I played on both.
I didn't like keyboards.
I was thankful. I even told Connor, I said I was thankful that the controller worked because it made the game a lot more enjoyable. He also has a map where whatever controller you plug in, the game will recognize it and figure it out for you.
Hey, that's cool. I was like, well, how does it know what buttons? Isn't it for a keyboard?
Yeah, no, he did a good job programming it.
He did a super good job.
I unfortunately forgot to mention to him about how realistic it was that here this guy is going into debt and he can't afford his medicine, and that's why things that do happen in this game are all because of that. I forgot to mention it kind of fits the current America in a sense with everything going on with 2020.
It does. It really does.
Very realistic.
Yeah, it was a good story.
Yeah, I thought it was funny and then after you check the two things, the baby wakes up and I was running around. I even told him I was running around the kitchen looking for food, looking for bottles, and you just got to grab the guitar on the bed and play the guitar, and the baby goes back to sleep.
See, Mike told me to do that. Otherwise, I'm not sure how I would have reacted if I would have done the same or if I would have figured it out by myself.
There are clues. If you read stuff, he even said this too, there's clues to let you know that's what you're supposed to do.
But
what? Again, I think something to do with the pictures, or there's something that there were clues that mentioned about music and the baby. Anna used to play or something, I think, when you first go up to it. Again,
I think when you pick up the picture or something, it says...
Yeah, which I wasn't paying attention to.
Did you pick up the picture?
I picked up everything multiple times. Everything but the bill when I couldn't find the bill. Yeah. And then after you pick up the baby, that's when it ends shortly after that. You put the baby to sleep, and then the chapter ends. And the third chapter is when this game starts getting more interesting, because you go to the police station, and I like that when you go into his desk, and then you go down to evidence, and you find Evelyn down there, and she's like, "You shouldn't be down here. It's okay, but you shouldn't be down here." And I'm thinking, oh, okay, just looking out for her. That's when he gets the phone call where the guy's like, Charlie calls him. He's like, "Hey, I need you to do me a favor." And that's when the story starts picking up, and he gets all mad at him, and that's when you start realizing something's not right. Even though it didn't click right away what was happening, it was a very cool moment, I thought.
Yeah. I was wondering how long that phone was going to ring.
As long as you don't... It rings until you walk down to the bathroom.
I couldn't find a private place to go, and I was like, you can't really... A bathroom's not a private place. Oh, yeah, but I guess it was.
It's not... that private, consider it was like a 2-stall type restroom. I mean, I can see a restroom where you just shut the door and lock it, like in some places. But
and I think there wasn't a door.
No door.
So I'm like, this can't be. Yep, it was.
I mean, it fit, but yeah, and it's interesting though. It had my attention. I had to stop playing. I took a break after this part because my laptop was getting hot, but I didn't want to. Like, I wanted to keep playing. Like, this story was really getting my attention, and I thought that was interesting for a walking sim. Like, I wasn't bored. I was like, oh, this is fun. Like, I want to keep playing. And as I told Connor, I mean, I felt it had horror elements to this game at times, especially later on in Chapter 7. He didn't agree. He's like, really? I'm like, yeah. Just for me.
Tell him you're a wuss? Is that...
Yeah, listen to the podcast, you'll know that. But it was just the suspense of not knowing what was around the corner. Partly, I couldn't go look up anything because at the time we're recording this, the game hasn't come out yet. The game comes out. There was no video. There was no guide. There was nothing I could do. And I even Googled, I wonder. Yep, there's nothing.
Mike was very upset. He's very upset.
I don't like games when they first come out and I can't look up stuff.
That's why you wait to play them, I think.
Oh, remember how they went with Breath of the Wild?
Not well, because you still haven't finished it.
I haven't even barely got anywhere someday. And I like how the fourth chapter, that's when this game really, like, the story starts hitting a level that is just so interesting to me. So you find out in chapter 3 you got this phone call to go to this diner and something had happened. I'm like, okay, so you get to this diner with your partner Evelyn.
Isn't it a bar?
Yeah. Oh, I guess a bar. Diner bar. Same thing, right?
No.
Okay.
Not the same thing. It's like a seedy bar.
Yeah, it does look like something that you would see a bunch of like bikers at or something in off some little town.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, go ahead.
I like how you come there. Like, I didn't realize first you get a black light. Oh, make sure you look for evidence. And I was thinking, okay, you're going to be cataloging evidence. No, you're cleaning up evidence.
Yeah, he was like, oh, fingerprints. We should get something to clean that up. I was like, clean it up? What? Yeah,
I'm like, wait, you're a cop. You're an investigator. What are you doing?
And then I was like, oh, that's what he's doing.
And I couldn't find the washcloth. Like, I found the key to the back area. I found the safe. I found everything but the washcloth. And I told Kyron, and he's like, it's right on the table. I'm like, yeah, I know. Air bar looking for it before I found it. I'm like, I found all the fingerprints. I gotta get something to wipe. I'm like, why didn't you bring a towel, you idiot? Like, something. Okay, go to the bathroom, get some paper towels. Nope, nothing there. But yeah, on the counter to the left of you when you walk in, because the game is trying to help you. It's trying to show you, saying, here it is, grab this. And I even told Connor that, and I'm like, yeah, my brain just wasn't working.
I think I remember I actually thought it was a sponge, but whatever it was, it worked to clean up stuff.
Sponge?
I don't know. It looked like a sponge to me.
I mean,
whichever.
I'm tempted to boot up Summerland again and play through it.
I don't know.
I haven't uninstalled it yet.
Oh, okay. Good, because then maybe I want to play it again.
I uninstall everything immediately, so, Connor, if you're listening. But I like that. I really like how you're cleaning up and I was thinking that because as you're cleaning up you clean up blood at one point, you got to get a little spray cleaner, and you're picking up money and you're picking up a note. And I want to be like, and Evelyn's just standing at the door, like maybe 20 feet away, and I'll be like, I'm sure she has to be noticing something's wrong. You're like, what's he doing wiping the floor for? What's he doing here? What? Because you come over to her like, there's no evidence, nothing's here.
And she's like, really? Like, she could probably see the blood from where she was.
I mean, you could see the guy, like, oh, look, you got the black, like, oh, look, evidence. Start scrubbing the floor. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Well, you didn't see him, like, go and get the spray bottle and be like,
like, Matthew, that's evidence. What are you doing? Nothing. Clean when they open back up,
Oh, she was immediately suspicious when he was like, no, I don't need your help. You just stay here.
I like that she got suspicious. I like that she did just go, oh, okay, that's nothing's wrong with you cleaning up a crime scene, Matthew. That's completely just fine, honey. Questioning him immediately, but at the same time, he is her superior officer, so she's kind of quiet about it at first.
Yeah, and she doesn't have really any hard evidence. Like,
I mean, just pull out your cell phone and videotape him. Yeah.
Yes. Or don't they have body cams?
They're supposed to. But that's when you're having an altercation, not when you're destroying evidence.
Well, I know. But when her body cam show him scrubbing?
Yes.
Okay, there you go then.
But I also think that was an interesting thing. I did not ask Connor if he, because again, it's kind of topical with 2020, because there have been instances in history with crooked cops where they guy had a body cam on and planted evidence, but he did it in front of the camera. So when later on they reviewed it, they're like, "You planted evidence right in front of the freaking camera."
Is that stupid?
Somebody was. I forget what city it was. So it did happen. I can't remember details, but I know it happened. I know it happened not too long ago, like this year or last year.
Lord have mercy.
It was just some random news thing I was watching once probably on Facebook. So, so then after you clean up, and I like how then you go back to he goes back to the office for some reason, and he throws the evidence that you collected and burns it in the trash can. I'm thinking to myself,
and why didn't you keep the money?
Yeah, and also, why are you going to your work? Like, hey, we're going to go to the police station. We're going to burn it in the station. No one's going to suspect that while I'm showing up after hours. I was like, okay Matthew. Wouldn't you just burn it?
Yeah, I didn't think about that till you said that.
Burn it outside somewhere randomly? Like, no one's going to suspect this in this random empty parking lot where I just burned something. No, let's go to the police station and do it in my office. They won't wonder why there's a fire in the office downstairs.
Like, I was thinking, aren't the smoke alarms going off, or don't they have them in that little spot?
Supposed to, maybe. They did have budget cuts.
That's true.
You're all budget cuts and all the different emails you read each time you go in the house. So, hey, maybe that the smoke alarms went too. We can't pay Janitor Sam anymore. Nope. Don't
We don't care if you're safe or not.
Budget cuts. And chapter 5 is when you go back to the apartment or house, I guess. This was the one that also I thought was interesting. This is where you have to feed the kid, where you go in the house and he's sitting in the high chair. And
the food is like in the dining room or something?
Yeah, put it down, and that's when you get the phone. That one wasn't a very long chapter, and that's when Charlie calls you and tells you he has another job for you.
Yeah.
Doesn't really do much other than feed the kid.
Yeah, that's about it.
Pretty simple, but it was cool. I mean, it shows you more of what's going on with Matthew and getting you more invested in the character.
And it makes the narrator, I like how the narrator is conflicted. He's like, all the people that come here are bad guys. You're making me see between the lines, like everything's supposed to be black and white to him.
I like that because, I mean, at this point, Matthew hasn't made any really, well, I mean, he did cover up evidence. I mean, that was a bad thing, but he hasn't murdered anybody. He hasn't committed any he committed a crime, but nothing like that would make you really see him as a bad guy yet.
But he's doing it for a good reason. I mean, he's trying to protect his child and survive. So, yeah, kind of a good reason.
You find out that his wife died. You don't find out how she died or why she died, but you know she's dead.
Yeah. I'm assuming in childbirth. However, later on, I am not so sure.
Well, one thing that's interesting, as you progress back in the house, I don't remember if it's this chapter, but it's definitely later in the last chapter when you're in the house, the picture of his wife, or the picture where he got the, where his gun is in the officer bag, that's bent down. I think other pictures are face down too. He doesn't want to see them anymore. And I thought that was interesting to change the character. Again, Connor put a lot of little details in this game.
Yeah, you missed the bullet hole though.
Yeah, and I forgot to ask him about that too.
I thought it was a bullet hole. He has like a grandfather clock or something, and I don't know why I was so close to it. I just have problems walking sometimes. And I was like, it's cracked. And so I got closer, and there's this little hole in there, and I'm like, that's interesting. I wonder if they'll touch on that. And they never did. I don't know if it's important.
But it could have been a detail, because when me and him talk, he did talk about how one thing that makes walking sims very interesting is when you put a lot of detail into the...
Yeah, and some people will catch it and some people won't.
That's another thing. Like this, I mean, like I was at this point when we got to the sixth trial, like I was completely invested in this game. I did not want to stop playing. I think I did 5 through 8 all in like one sitting. I just didn't want to stop playing.
Yeah, I think I did it in 2, which it's a pretty short game, but I have to get up at 5, so.
I mean, yeah, no, you did play the second one, and I had to leave the house because I get annoying when you play games. So
whatever, I get annoyed when you play games too. So
I know, like Backshot, when I don't know how to run.
Neither of you knew how to run. That was the little.
Unfortunately, Mike's not here to defend himself.
How would he defend himself?
No, he wouldn't. He couldn't. It's on record.
I know.
And then so after Charlie calls you, he tells you to go to this laundromat to clean up more evidence. He says empty out his cave or something. I forget what wording he uses. And this was interesting. So Matthew, you end up in this laundromat, and he has a note. He's like, okay, I'm about to go to this broken washer machine, put in 4 quarters, and then do something. And he's like, I don't got no quarters. And
look for quarters.
I thought that was kind of, I mean, even though there was that one on the bench that both of us couldn't find for the longest time.
It wasn't there. I swear it wasn't there. It wasn't there. You didn't ask him, did you?
But I thought that was cool. I think Matthew's an idiot for not bringing quarters with him, but also at the same time, like, it fit the story because the guy is so conflicted with what he's doing. He needs money, where Charlie promised him to give him money so he can get more medication, so he can be okay and get caught up on his bills, because work is, cutting his hours and he might lose his job. And I thought that was very interesting because he's doing it to protect himself and protect his kid. His kid has nobody, but he's making bad decisions for the right reason.
But I didn't understand, because his little hideout was so well hidden. Who did he think was going to go in there and find the evidence? They didn't know where to look, because it flat out said out of order.
I mean, cops are smart, maybe.
I mean, so they knew that was his hangout, or I don't know. That's the part that confused me.
They don't detail it in this, but I liked how you have to go down there. And also, we hadn't mentioned this, but whenever you have situations where you have to get evidence, each time you get evidence, a number pops up showing you completing this event, which I thought was also interesting.
Like 5 out of 9 things you collect or whatever.
Yeah, and I thought that was cool. Like, you actually pull like a bunch of like heavy machine guns too out of his safe in the laundromat. I was like, okay, Charlie.
Oh yeah, they fit in a duffel bag.
Yeah, that was like the duffel bag just sitting upstairs. Oh, I better go. Like, this guy Matthew does not come prepared at all. But he brought a towel this time. He's like, I brought a towel, but no duffel bag. But he brought a towel.
I assumed he kept it from the bar.
I guess, and I thought that was funny. As you're cleaning up everything, he's putting everything in his duffel bag. Evelyn ends up walking downstairs where he is at the end of this event when he's trying to clean the computer, and tells him that he has to turn himself in and quit the force. And I thought that was interesting because she followed him. She's like, I followed you. You were acting suspicious, so I followed you here.
Yeah,
I like that.
I do too, because she needed hardcore evidence, but I think she wanted to be wrong. That's why she followed him.
She was not.
He was not, but I think she probably wanted to be.
Yeah, I thought the voice work was, as I told Connor, I thought the voice work was also very good. Like, it sounded, as I told him, I said it sounded better than Resident Evil 1 and PS1. You're the master of unlocking. So, again, that's a whole different thing, but it was good voice acting. I liked it a lot.
I liked the narrator for some reason.
And throughout the trials, like every 2 trials you have, because the narrator talks to you after every trial and tells you a little bit like what he thinks of you. And then after every 2 trials, there's a little, but you make choices. I don't know what effect the choices have in the game exactly, or maybe they don't have an effect, but they make you think. And like, one's like, do you think people are selfish? Yes or no? And it was, I thought that was another way to really pull you more into the narrative and the story of what was happening.
And it was all kind of based on what, like, he was going through. Because, like, one of them was, if you pressed the button not knowing what would happen, would you still be responsible for what happened? And I think I put, yes, you would be responsible. I don't care if you knew or not.
Or like the other one with the train. If you can divert the train from killing 5 people, if you don't do anything, the train will kill 5 people. But if you move it, it will kill 1 person, but you are deliberately responsible for killing that 1 person. What do you do?
So each one is like a moral dilemma.
But it's well written and pretty cool.
Yeah. Like, he goes through moral dilemmas throughout the whole thing too.
It was interesting. And then when you have Charlie's, so the second to last chapter, when things really fucking hit the fan, as I want to say it, and you end up in you go to Charlie's apartment because Charlie tells him, hey, I'm not going to pay you. You didn't get me the laptop because you are about to clear it off. Except when Evelyn comes in, he's like, so since you didn't clear the laptop, no money. He's like, well, I did everything else for you. I grabbed like 100,000. Like, no money. You didn't finish the job. Fuck you. Go get away from me.
But didn't you say something like money is short?
Yeah.
Like, pretty much say like, well, I don't have it.
Yeah, which is a lie.
Which, yeah, but then you like find that note.
That was good when you go to his apartment, because you're going to his apartment to steal the money back because you need money, and I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
Like, you find out that I think he needs money for it. He hasn't been able to see his daughter or something because, he's a drug dealer and whatever the hell else he's up to, a gun runner. And I thought that was all really interesting. And, like, you have to... Like, the thing that was stupid is earlier when he's doing the but the bar, he makes a comment about how the guys didn't wear gloves. And he goes to Charlie's apartment, he doesn't wear gloves either. And like, after you raid the safe and you're about to leave, he's like, I left my fingerprints everywhere. And I'm like, but you just made fun of the people for doing it earlier in the game, you idiot.
Go get the black light.
And I like that where he comes to the terms like, if I leave here, Charlie will know I did it. He will come for me and Joey, which is his son, and you have to go into the room and shoot him in the heart.
Yeah, I tried to shoot him in the head.
I was like, ooh, this game got real dark real fast.
Real dark, yeah.
It was impressive.
I liked it. Though.
And then you get to the final chapter, which is short, but really, like, it really hits you where he runs into his house where he just left Charlie's apartment and the kid's sleeping because, nobody's watching the kid. And you have to get water, you have to get a duffel bag and pack up food.
Oh, yeah.
And
don't get me started on
and grab Joey. And I thought that was so cool. Like, you're really feeling it. And then he's driving in a car and the cops start chasing after him. And does he stop or does he crashes, right?
He crashes because his heart, he starts.
Oh yeah, the medicine.
Heart palpitations, but he used, I can't remember when he used his last pill. So he didn't have any more pills. And even if you press that button to give him a pill, he goes, I'm out of pills.
That was.
I tried.
I did too, because throughout the game he keeps having to take pills in every trial. So it's really cool when it happens, and like he doesn't have any money, he can't afford his medication. I was just like, wow, this is such a current issue that so many people are probably dealing with. People that lost insurance because of 2020 and the pandemic and everything. Like it was like, this is really timely.
Yeah.
And then and just the whole and the ending of this game is you crash your car, you go grab Joey, and you just start running down the highway away from the police until they just stop you because they catch up to you, of course. And he ends up putting Joey down. He's lifting his hands up as you see to surrender, and he just gets shot.
But Mike just leaves Joey in the car and runs the other way.
I did, yeah. I just left him and just ran off, and I'm like, nothing happened. I had to go back and get Joey,
but because eventually he says, I have to get Joey. Well, I was like, okay, we gotta get the baby right now.
I'm like, nah, we gotta go. We gotta save our own skin.
I mean, that could have been logical because he probably knew the baby would have been taken care of. Like, they wouldn't harm the baby.
No, better than going with the convict, but in this case, especially the heart condition convict, but hey.
So I'm assuming that's why what happened. He died of a heart attack.
I thought he got shot, but maybe it was a heart attack. I didn't ask.
Well, because his heart is still beating, or you can tell he's starting to have a heart attack, and then suddenly it just fades.
Yeah, okay. I didn't think about that. I thought he got shot, and then again, I was thinking in a different mindset, but that can make sense.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's what I thought, though, because it just fades, and it's like, oh, he's going into the light.
Yeah. And that final part where you wake up again in wherever you are, and he's like, and the narrator just talking to you, and then and I like how the last question presented to you is, are you a good person? Yes or no? And yes, that's how the game ends. Like, you walk off into the sunset or into the whiteness, and you don't know what happens. You don't know because we don't know what happens after death. And I thought it's so touching, and it really hit me on a level I wasn't expecting.
The narrator essentially gives you the choice because it's the narrator's job to decide what happens to you. And so he says, okay, I'm going to let you decide because I can't. So he says, do you think you're a good person? And you get to choose good or bad. And I think we both chose good, so we're not sure what happens if you choose bad.
I might have chosen no. I can't remember, though. I'm going to replay it, so.
Then you need to choose all the opposite things and see what happens.
Okay. All right. And so even though we did spoil the story and we did talk about the game, because that's, again, even though we don't normally talk about a game that just came out, that's what we do here. But even then, even though you know the story, I still think the game will have something for you and is still such an experience. Hopefully you listened to me earlier and stopped yourself after the interview and played the game. But either way, it's impressive, and I think it will hit you in ways that you might not expect. It's
such a good game because the guy who made it is so young. He's 19?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's such a good story.
All right, I think we should go to shelf or box since we're kind of already there anyway. I'll go first. I think it's obvious. As I said in the interview and said here, it's going on the shelf. I had a great time. I really enjoyed it, and you have to play it. If you like walking sims, it's free on Steam. Even though we did spoil the whole damn game, it's still well worth your attention. Hopefully you already played it and you're listening to this after you played it. But either way, I loved it, and I'll be recommending it to people all over the place.
But even if you haven't played it, you need to experience it for yourself. We can only tell you so much.
And would you put this on the shelf or the box?
Oh, shelf.
Okay.
Sorry.
We need it for the Excel sheet I don't have to keep track of what everybody said.
Oh, okay, sure.
And I was supposed to make back in episode 5. Yeah.
How'd that go for you?
Well, we're about 100 episodes in as of next week, and I've recorded, and I haven't started it yet, so not so good.
I'm not doing it for you.
No one is.
No.
Nobody is. All right. And I hope you enjoyed this episode. And I hope you enjoyed the interview that we had in the first half and our review of the game. So, I mean, it's really something else. So I want to thank Connor for reaching out to me, and as I said before, in the first half of this episode. And so definitely go play Summerland. And also want to thank you for listening to Games My Mouth. Now, if you enjoyed this episode, we have lots of other game episodes. Definitely check those out. We do comic episodes. We do movies. We go through the Marvel MCU movies right now. We are just released Winter Soldier the week before you heard this. So definitely go check that out. And give an awesome shout out to our awesome intro and outro courtesy of Bobby, aka Mike Stoney from his EP Bite the Bullet. Songs are cool, Kid Squad. Check him out. There'll be a link in the show notes to his YouTube channel. And please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and on YouTube. We need more subscribers. And a great way to help support the show and let somebody know.
Whoa, take a breath.
I do it all. I don't need to. All right, and we will see you all next time.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.